If you listen to political commentators, you will often hear global diplomacy described as a grand game of chess, an orderly board with clear rules, where calculated moves lead to predictable, moral victories. But geopolitical analyst Ho Pin argues that looking for a chessboard is a mistake. Global order is a mechanical structure. Picture three massive objects, the United States, China, and Russia, suspended in space, locked together by immense gravitational pull and constant friction. Look at the data embedded in this system. Together, these three specific nations control the major hubs of global technology, energy, and trade. And crucially, they hold more than 90% of the world's nuclear weapons. That mass translates directly into a structural reality of diplomatic power. They hold 3 of the permanent veto-wielding seats on the UN Security Council. The danger, according to Ho Pin, is that these 3 enormous bodies are currently interacting without any defined rules of orbit. They haven't established where the absolute bottom lines are, leaving the rest of the world hanging over a cliff. Treating this fragile, mechanical triad like a simple pawn test with winners and losers is a fatal error. It blinds us to the actual risk: structural collapse. 3 power systems have existed before. You can look back to the structural divisions of Rome, Persia, and the Han Dynasty. But a massive triad armed with nuclear weapons is an entirely different physics problem. As Henry Kissinger warned, modern civilization has 0 historical reference points for managing a 3-way nuclear conflict. We are flying blindly. This cleanroom environment highlights the active physical battleground for the first connection, the US-China relationship. What began as strategic competition has rapidly accelerated into a direct technological war over space and semiconductor supremacy. That friction spills directly into physical territory, visible daily in intense, escalating disputes across the South China Sea. The second beam is the United States and Russia. The war in Ukraine has effectively incinerated whatever diplomatic language still existed between Washington and Moscow. Look at the mechanics. 2 of the 3 essential connections holding global stability together are defined by severe, active hostility. The system lacks a stabilizing anchor, leaving it dangerously top-heavy. That puts immense pressure on the third connection, the China-Russia partnership. Publicly, both sides heavily promote this as a relationship with no limits. But Ho Pin assesses that this connection is highly asymmetrical. Behind closed doors, it is a deeply unequal arrangement, driven by short-term, self-serving calculations rather than genuine strategic trust. This fragile setup perfectly aligns with how modern conflict actually starts. World wars do not ignite because a mastermind presses a button. They happen when localized miscalculations accumulate, hit a critical mass, and slip out of control. And we are surrounded by localized flashpoints. The most immediate is the extreme daily military tension concentrated around the Taiwan Strait. Add to that the expansion of NATO along Russia's border and the active military remobilization of Japan in the Pacific. Any one of these is a live tripwire. The standard comfort offered to the public is the concept of mutually assured destruction, the theory that nuclear arsenals act as an automatic brake system, guaranteeing that no leader will risk a direct fight. But brakes only work if the drivers are actively communicating. Today, the leaders of the United States, China, and Russia have sealed the windows and cut off all meaningful dialogue. We do not need the illusion of friendship, ideological alignment, or some shared community of human destiny to survive this. Superpowers only require one highly pragmatic thing: a mutually understood bottom line. Ho Pin proposes a massive, urgent diplomatic pivot to build a miscalculation firewall, a strict protocol designed for one specific scenario, allowing these leaders to pick up a phone in the middle of the night and stop a localized crisis from going nuclear. We know firewalls work because we have built them before. In 1962, humanity survived the Cuban Missile Crisis, not because John F. Kennedy and Nikita Khrushchev became friends, but because they established the Red Telephone, a dedicated crisis communication link. Later, President Ronald Reagan negotiated strategic arms limitation treaties with the Soviet Union, creating tangible structural boundaries that kept friction from becoming a fire. Looking ahead, Ho Pin outlines a critical window for a 2026 summit, whether it happens in Shenzhen or Miami. A meeting where the leaders of these 3 nations sit down strictly to construct this modern firewall. Despite the danger, Ho Pin remains deeply optimistic. Today's diplomatic networks and communication tools are vastly superior to what we had during the Cold War. If peace is a rational choice, we have the precise instruments to choose it. For the rest of us, the instructions are clear. Refuse to panic, resist the urge to be swept up in emotional narratives, and do not fall into the trap of demonizing the other side. By stripping away the political emotion and understanding the cold, physical mechanics of this three-power world, we stop being spectators. That clarity is the essential foundation for navigating our way off the edge of the cliff.